All right, I'm gonna do an oil and filter change on the 2006 Jaguar XJ8 Plaid. It's actually just a long version. It's got the V8. It's a 4.2 liter V8. It runs well. As I've mentioned before, this car is immaculate. Now, Jaguars, of course, depreciate like stones. They are expensive to maintain. Go to a dealer. Ooh, look how soft that rubber is. Oh, Lordy, is this thing in great shape for 80,000 miles. And if you look at everything on it, it's just in great shape. But let's get back to the oil change. I think people who watch any of my videos know that I prefer not to use oil drain plugs. They're a waste of time. So I try to do oil extraction with my suction device. It obviously only works on vehicles that have dipsticks. This one has a dipstick, it's old enough. Each one of these spaces is about 2 liters, 2 quarts. So the car holds about 6.9 liters width of oil filter. That's about 6.5 approximately. As I always tell people, the oil can be warm, 100 degrees Fahrenheit, but do not drive the car, have it real hot, because that oil is hot enough that it will melt this tube, and that will make for a really, really bad day. So all in all, good looking car. Last year I changed all the fluids, and like I always do every year, every car gets oil and filter, whether it's 50 miles, 100 miles, or 1,000 miles. Since these are lightly driven cars and they get stored for the majority of their life, I never want to store a vehicle with old oil because there's acids in it, water, and it just doesn't make any sense. And since I do my own oil changes, it's relatively cheap. Obviously, I could probably extend it a couple of years, but why bother? This 4.2 liter engine, it's nice, it runs well. Why would I want to shortchange a vehicle with inexpensive, oh God, I can save $35 if I don't change the oil. Well, wait till you price one of these replacement engines on this Jaguar. $35 won't even pay for the cost of having the mechanic do an evaluation to figure out why it's burning oil. I use 5W30. Like I said, it takes almost 7 quarts. 7 quarts. I use the Signature Series oil from Costco, which is about $2.50 per quart. So you're looking at $17.5 approximately for oil. The oil filter I get from FCP Euro. It's a genuine Jaguar filter. I think it runs about $30 for a filter, which is a fair amount of money. But realize that when you purchase your first filter, it has a lifetime warranty. So I can change the filter, send the old one back to back to FCP Euro, and get my money back, which definitely saves money. And it might cost me $5 to have the oil filter sent back via UPS, but I send it with other items from FCP Euro. Now this car, just to refresh everybody's memory, had a new PCV valve put on it last year. I also had to change the thermostat, which was quite an involved process, but the old thermostat had failed, and it's got this complex housing that sits in this area. Don't think I did a video on it, don't really remember, but the car comes up to temp beautifully now, runs well. I always try to change PCV valves, positive crankcase ventilation valves. They're kind of important. If they're stuck, either open or closed, it can cause trouble, cause premature oil burning, cause seal damage in the engine. They're relatively cheap to do on most cars, and if you can get to them, just replace them. It's money well spent. A lot of people, when they get a tune-up, plugs, wires, etc., will automatically change the positive crankcase ventilation valve. Seems like a very good idea, given the high headache that it can give you if you don't. So we know that it appears success is on our side. I will go underneath the car. I will drain the crankcase and see how much oil is left in the vehicle. I'm guessing there's not going to be a lot. And if I'm right and we're successful, that means I don't have to hit the drain plug anymore. I don't like torquing it. I think the torque spec for the drain plug on this car is 18 foot-pounds. It's just one more thing I don't like to do. I don't like having oil on my body unless it's baby oil. So we'll go from there. Now this car does require to have the splash pan, which you can see over there, taken off. And so to get to the filter, you got to do it anyway. It's not a Toyota Prius where there's a little flap, or a recent BMW where just take it from the top. It is what it is. But like I keep saying, it's a beautiful car. It is in immaculate condition. Garaged, driven a few miles, in a warm climate like Florida. It's had all the advantages and none of the disadvantages of being a Florida car. So I'll be back. All right, front of the car in the lift. I have used an oil filter cap to loosen the oil filter, which is right there. Like I said, I think I loosened it. Oh yeah, there we go. Oil looks great, which it should. Keep harping on the same thing. I don't understand people who say, oh, I got an extra 1,000 miles in my oil change. Great. Did that cost you any wear and tear on the engine? Yeah, penny wise and pound foolish. So I'll turn on my headlamp. Looking good. Yeah. And we'll move it up closer. Yeah. Looking good. Good. We'll screw on the new oil filter. I did notice. I'll show you this. They actually tell you to tighten it between 15 and 18 Newton meters. So apply oil to gasket, yes. Screw oil filter spigot on by hand, tighten to using a socket to 15, 18 Newton meters, or by hand 3/4 of a turn after seal contact. Run engine, check for leaks. Add oil to level. I like the oil filter, very cool. So put that over there. This is the filter I'm using. Of course, it's made in Germany. El Aleman, and the number is the C2C41611. It's an original Jaguar filter, as you can see. It's got the pretty Jaguar box. It's approved. Wow. Genuine part. I'm lucky. But that's good. Cars are expensive. Oil and filters are cheap. So I'd show you screwing the filter on, but God, I could think of something more boring to do than that. But I'll put the filter on, fill up the oil. Oh, by the way, no oil came out of the drain plug. So I no longer have to drain oil out of the drain plug. Not sure it makes any difference. The oil is suspended. All the contaminants are suspended in the oil. So I'm not sure how using the drain plug helps at all. But some people really like it. It is an option. But now you have the option of not having to do it if you want to do a suction technique. That's about it. I'll be back. All right, like I said, I used the Kirkland stuff from Costco. It's Dexos 2, and it's full synthetic. It's 5W30. It's like $2.50 a quart. I'm gonna have my assistant hold this. Occasionally I have to show myself pouring oil into a car, or nobody will ever believe I do it. Hopefully I won't make much of a mess. Yeah, there we go. Fresh, clean, wonderful oil. So one of the philosophies I have is when you're buying a used car, you don't know the history, change the oil early and often, because you don't know what its previous history was like. You may have oil control rings that are getting gummed up, and if you flush out all the particulate matter, all the carbon, all the stuff suspended in the oil, it may actually save those oil control rings or whatever is not doing well. like I said, it's cheap insurance. It's so much cheaper to change the oil early and often than it is to get a new engine or have something that's burning oil. You'll spend so much money on topping up the oil every month that you'll wish that you just changed it more often. So 5 quarts, it holds 6.9. I'm going to put in another quart, another liter, and then drive it for a while and then top it off. All right, folks. I hope you learned something.